Texans get C.J. Stroud back, welcome back an old face, and lose an important piece from this season. Texans in control of their own destiny, but there's a lot of questions to ask. Let's answer them inside the locker room.
Yeah. It's the locker room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey, locker room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do.
A lot of good news, some interesting news, and a lot of question marks for the Houston Texans heading into the final 2 weeks of the season in which they control their own destiny. It is the locker room, number one source for Texans daily digital content. I'm Landry Locker. You can hear me Monday through Friday, 10 to 2 Central, Sports Radio 610. Live stream tonight at 10:30. Exclusive interview with the player off the field tomorrow on the radio show. And the big news, of course, we've kind of been hinting in this on this stream. If you follow this stream, you knew this was probably going to happen this week. C.J. Stroud is returning to practice for the Texans. Now, does it mean that he's 100% in the clear? No, but I would bet very strong money that C.J. Stroud will be on the field on Sunday for the Houston Texans as they take on a Tennessee Titans team that has a little bit of uncertainty at the quarterback position. Don't know what they're going to do with Ryan Tannehill and Will Levis. Don't know if they even want to win, but a dangerous team nonetheless. The Texans, as we sit with the before the C.J. Stroud news, they were a 3.5-point favorite. Looking at line movement in Las Vegas, sometimes the starting quarterback announcement shifts it significantly. It shifted about a point, so 4.5. When it becomes official with C.J. Stroud, we will let you know. We'll keep a close eye on that. And, of course, if the Texans are going to reach their ultimate goal, which is to make the playoffs and perhaps be competitive in that playoff game, they're going to need C.J. Stroud. I have a question here for people, and I want you to put it in the comments. I want you to hit me up at Landry Locker on Twitter, Instagram, all that. Do you look at the Texans differently now than you did before the Stroud injury? And I ask the reason I'm asking this question is because after the Tennessee game, I thought it was important for the Texans to show that they could win ugly and they weren't 100% Stroud dependent. I think some teams become too dependent on their quarterback, and it's kind of a recipe for disaster. We might be seeing that right now with the Kansas City Chiefs. We damn sure saw it with the Texans when Deshaun Watson was here and Bill O'Brien was here, and it was Deshaun Watson saves all butts. Have the Texans made you feel that, like, if C.J. Stroud doesn't have his A game against, say, Tennessee, Indianapolis, or in the playoffs, that they can find other ways to win? Now, it's kind of unfair because they didn't have the same weapons that they had. They didn't have Tank Dell and Nico Collins in one, and they had Nico Collins kind of nicked up. But do you feel have the 2 weeks made you? Maybe you feel like they're even more dependent on C.J. Stroud, and you saw what went on there, and you said, "Man, this team isn't worth a damn without him." But do you look at the Texans different now than you did before the C.J. Stroud injury? I would say I look at them pretty much the same because I think their lack of quality personnel at the running back position and their inability to consistently run the ball is kind of not really a recipe for success around this time of the year. But make no mistake about it. The Texans need C.J. Stroud to succeed. They have shown that they have a little bit of charisma. And I think DeMeco Ryans is one of those coaches who can get the most of his squad, like a lot of these other coaches have around the league that have had to compete at a decent level without backup quarterbacks. It's really not a unique problem. I feel like the Texans can get to a point where, DeMeco's identity is such to where you have a, 8-game floor or something like that, where you're going to compete no matter what. But they're definitely dependent on C.J. Stroud. What say you? Do you look at the Texans differently now than you did before C.J. Stroud? We'll get more into this in the live stream. We're going to have the post-week live stream tonight at 10:30. There's a lot of questions there, hell of a lot of questions. We'll get into all of it. We'll also hear from DeMeco Ryans what he has to say about C.J. Stroud, so don't miss that. Other news with the Texans, Jimmie Ward. He had trouble staying in the lineup. He's going to miss the remainder of the season. Jimmie Ward was an important piece of this team, but it was an important piece that you just couldn't depend on. If it wasn't one thing, it was the other. The soft tissue, the concussion, all that. Jimmie Ward's going to miss the remainder of the season, and he'll have 1 year remaining on his contract. What is the future of Jimmie Ward? I think you bring Jimmie Ward back if he wants to play. Obviously, you need to surround him with some depth. You don't want to be dependent on him. I think the fact that Jalen Petrie has kind of regressed, and Jalen Petrie has been one of the biggest disappointments of this year, it makes the Jimmie Ward thing more significant because you want someone back there at the safety position, whether it's a free safety, whether it's a strong safety, to be able to hold it down. And Jalen Petrie's just not capable of doing that, at least not this year. Still a lot of time. He's not even halfway through his rookie contract. We'll see what happens with Jalen Petrie. There was talk that maybe he got benched last week, but I think you do bring back Jimmie Ward in some capacity if he wants to play. But you got to have some depth there. And the fact that, you didn't get Kyle Hamilton a couple of years ago, you thought Jimmie Ward was going to be one or not Jimmie Ward. You thought Jalen Petrie was going to be one thing. He's been another. Maybe he can kind of have a bounce back season next year. And Ward's absence won't be as significant, but it's very obvious, when you had someone off the streets back there with Jalen Petrie just hasn't been capable this year of holding it down back there. Kareem Jackson, this is the big news. Familiar face, friend of the show. I think we're going to try to get him on next week. Kareem Jackson's back with the Texans. What does this mean? I think it means a couple of things. First of all, I think it's another good in-season addition by Nick Caserio. I think Nick Caserio has done a really good job of working waivers. He's actually done a really, really good job at it. You've seen guys on the D line. You've seen guys at safety. He's done a good job of kind of working that. Kareem Jackson, is he what he was when he was with the Texans? And in 2018, when I thought that they should have brought him back and could kind of understand the financial decision to let Tyrann Mathieu go. But how much does Kareem have left in the tank? I don't know, but I do look at what they're doing in Denver right now. And they just announced that they're going to sit out Russell Wilson. So I think they're kind of they're kind of transforming into thinking long term. And I don't think Kareem Jackson was going to be part of their long term plans. He's been in the news a lot for unnecessary hits and everything like that. I would hate to be a tight end or running back, going across the middle with Kareem Jackson and Denzel Perryman running full speed at me. But I think this is a good pickup. Dude, how impactful, who knows? I think there is like an extra layer to the potential bringing in of Kareem Jackson. And it's almost like a making right the wrongs of the past. You hear JJ Watt talking good about the Texans. Andre's always going to do that. Kareem was kind of one of those guys who was on the edge of, Kubiak to OB to the, I guess, King Bill, Jack Easterby type of thing. You bring him back, you kind of make right. Is he as good as Jimmie Ward right now? I would say probably not. But you're at least getting a guy who's a quality safety, who's a physical presence, who has a little bit of versatility. I don't think it's a bad move at all. Bringing in Kareem Jackson, I think it's going to be kind of refreshing for the fan base. But the Jimmie Ward thing will be interesting to see how they handle that. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Kareem. But at the end of the day, it's all about the quarterback. CJ Stroud back. Texans 1-1 without him. I think you got to be pleased with that. And most importantly, they control their own destiny. They got the Tennessee Titans, and then they got the Indianapolis Colts. And depending on what happens around them, what happens with Jacksonville, could be talking about Texans versus Colts for the AFC South. So a lot going on. CJ Stroud back, Jimmie Ward gone, Kareem Jackson back, business picking up. The NFL, best regular season in sports by far. There's so many questions, so many uncertainties, and this has got to be one of the most active, entertaining teams to cover, which has been a nice breath of fresh air. Hope everyone had a good Christmas. Hope you're doing whatever you need to do to head into the new year. Live stream tonight. That'll be a little bit longer, but let's get back in the swing of things. Fun times ahead. And always remember, when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. Exclusive interview with the player off the field tomorrow on the Odyssey app, YouTube, Twitch, Sports Radio 610. Appreciate you.
Locker room, yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk, yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize, every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the pulse of the city too. Landlocked, got the game in the headlock. Localize every time, can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top two and we not too. Plugged in daily.